Once, Avalon was a dream, a sanctuary promised by the gods. It was meant to be our salvation, our refuge from a dying world. But like all dreams left in mortal hands, Avalon rotted. Avalon was not just a land, it was the land, a sacred place of myth and legend, untouched by the ruin devouring the old world. When the Red Death swept across the isles of humanity, devouring kingdoms and cities in days, there was only one hope left: the island whispered about in prayers and nightmares alike. The king, Arthur Pendragon, hero of prophecy, led the great exodus across the sea. Scholars, knights, peasants, and prophets, all crammed into creaking ships bound for the unknown. They believed Arthur would claim Avalon, tame its wild magic, and raise a perfect kingdom, a second Camelot that would never fall. But Avalon was not empty, it was alive, and it was angry. This new land did not welcome us, it tolerated us, like a flame tolerates a moth. Avalon pulses with an ancient eldritch power, a shifting fog of madness and mutation known only as the Weirdness. It warps flesh and time, twists forests into labyrinths, rewrites the laws of man and nature alike. At first, Arthur's sorcerers believed they could tame it. They raised towering monoliths called menhirs, carved with ancient glyphs and fueled by blood and sacrifice. These stones held the Weirdness at bay, but only barely, and only for a while. The cost was unimaginable. Villages vanished overnight, forests bled, children were born with too many eyes, or not enough bones. The light of the menhirs flickered, and with it, so too did hope. What became of Arthur is a mystery shrouded in myth and fear. Some say he fell in battle against the weird itself. Others claim he made a pact, one too terrible to speak of. What we know is this: the king is gone, the round table is shattered, and the people of Avalon are alone. Knights no longer protect the roads, the menhirs are crumbling, the Weirdness creeps close by the hour. Villagers pray to hollow idols, bandits worship broken gods, and in the shadows something older than Avalon stirs. We enter this world not as a hero, but as a survivor. Awakened in a crumbling cell beneath the earth, you emerge into a world choking on its own decay. There is no glory here, only questions, only pain. Why did Avalon fail? What is the Weirdness? And who or what did Arthur become? To survive, you'll need more than sword and shield. You'll need to understand this land, its monsters, its magic, and the secrets buried beneath its sacred stones. Once, menhirs stood as proud sentinels of human survival, but now they flicker, crumbling into forgotten stone, unable to hold back the night, and in the creeping dark, the Weirdness awaits. In a land as cursed and hollow as Avalon, survival was never meant to be permanent, only borrowed, bought at a great cost, and constantly threatened by forces that mortals were never meant to challenge. Even in the darkest hour, humanity found a way to hold on. Ancient standing stones, known as menhirs, were our anchor. Towering monoliths, druidic magic, relics of forgotten rites and lost oaths. When lit, they carved sanctuaries into the nightmare, a bubble of calm, and a land collapsing into unreality. You may not remember the first time you saw one, but you'll remember the last time it burned, because when the light goes out, you're already too late. The Weirdness is not just fog, nor magic gone wrong. It is the will of Avalon, twisted in on itself, a rotting thought spreads like mold, swallowing land, mind, and memory. Menhirs were not built to destroy the weirdness, only to repel it, to keep it at bay. And when they fail, nothing remains. The weirdness corrupts not with fire or blood, but with confusion. It unravels the laws of nature. Time folds, distance lies. The wind whispers with voices you used to know, before they died screaming in the dark. The menhirs are not natural, nor are they the product of simple sorcery. They are ritual anchors binding the last remnants of stable reality to the ground. Crafted by the ancient druids, they are inscribed with symbols no living tongue can truly pronounce. Some say they drink the blood of the land to stay awake. Others whisper that they are not lit at all, contain something that wants to burn free. To keep them alive, offerings must be made. Sacrifices, time, life, knowledge. Each menhir is a pact, a deal struck between mankind and powers better left unspoken. It is not a gift, it is a debt, one that must be paid again and again. But something has gone wrong. The menhirs are failing. One by one they gutter and die. The rituals no longer work. The offerings are no longer enough. Perhaps we've grown too far from the old ways. Perhaps the powers we bargained with have simply turned away. Now, villagers cling to the last embers. The world is shrinking. Each menhir that goes out is a death sentence for everything around it. The people, the roads, memory itself. As the weirdness expands, the nightmare becomes all that remains. You do not leave a dead menhir, you vanish with it. As your journey begins, you are a desperate soul, called from beyond the veil, returned from death, or maybe something far stranger. Your task is simple in word and impossible in truth. Keep the menhirs burning. Find the cause. Stop the fall. Or watch the world vanish. The flickering light is the only thing holding the dream together, and even now, it's going out. They say that long ago, before the weirdness, the world was whole, but Avalon was never whole. It was always bleeding, always broken. The menhirs were just tourniquets, and the wound is open again. To understand Avalon's curse, you must understand its king. Not the man in shining mail, not the stories, not the songs, the truth that cracked the crown and left the world bleeding. In the days before Avalon, Arthur Pendragon was more than a monarch. He was a symbol, a rallying point for a world breaking apart. The Red Death devoured kingdoms like wildfire, and as chaos spread, people turned to myth, and Arthur became myth. He promised a sanctuary, a final kingdom beyond the reach of plague and sin. He spoke of Avalon, not as a retreat, but as a rebirth. Guided by his sorcerer Merlin, and protected by the Knights of the Round Table, Arthur led the desperate masses across the sea, leaving the dying world behind. They did not arrive in triumph. They arrived in fear, ash, and desperation. And they found that Avalon was no paradise. Avalon rejected them. The very air resisted order. Forests whispered names not spoken in human tongues. Time slipped like sand, and always the weirdness. A thick, reality-sickening mist, pressed in, ancient and alive. Arthur fought back the only way he knew, with war. Crushed the monstrous Four-Dwellers, ancient beings native to Avalon, older than the soil, shaped like gods but walking like men. He drove them into the sea, into the caves, into myth once again. And then, with bloodied hands and fading breath, he raised Camelot anew, not as a castle of chivalry, but as a fortress of survival. Arthur's victory had a cost. The menhirs, relics of unimaginable power, had been awakened to protect the settlements, but these stones demanded offerings, rituals, obedience, faith. Merlin, ever the manipulator, fed them with secrets pulled from the deep. Druids spoke in dead languages, villagers gave their children, blood flowed like water. And Arthur? He allowed it, because the alternative was extinction. A kingdom that survives by feeding the stones its own people is no kingdom at all. This is a graveyard held together by belief, and even the king began to crack. Arthur became the shadow of the man he once was. Once called the light of humanity, he began to disappear for weeks at a time, searching the island for something, some ancient key, some forbidden ritual, something that might restore Avalon. He returned, changed. His eyes no longer saw the world around him. He spoke to voices no one else could hear. And his crown, that golden circlet worn by kings of legend, was gone, replaced by a broken relic of stone and root. Some say he bargained with the weirdness itself. Others claim Merlin betrayed him, whispering truths no man should know. But one truth is certain. Arthur vanished. The king disappeared into the mists one final time, and Camelot collapsed without him. The round table splintered, the knights scattered, some corrupted, others consumed. Whole regions fell within days, the menhirs began to die, and the weirdness came surging in, and they were claiming what they had always been its own. Without Arthur, Avalon tore itself apart. The once noble orders devolved into fanatical cults. The Red Priests preached salvation through fire and purging. Blood cults cling to forgotten druidic rites, sacrificing all they can to appease the failing menhirs. Even the Round Table itself endures in ghost form. Its name passed to new knights who wear the titles of Galahad, Lancelot, and Gawain, like cursed armour. But the legends no longer match the men who bear them. The king is gone, but his name still burns. You hear it in dreams. You feel it in the soul tethered to your chest. Because Arthur, in some form, is not finished.